All right, I'm sure everybody's got the idea. You look so natural when you wake up in the morning. Hello, I'm Cardano, and welcome to the channel and another episode of Making It the Track. And I'm just going to kind of go through the process and maybe a little storyline of just how the track was made. I wouldn't say there's much of a storyline really with this track, and it's just more of like kind of like 6 other tracks that I made with it that I was on this talk box whatever. I was on this talk box journey per se of just making these talk box tracks, and it's not actually a talk box. It's called an electro spit, which is made by a guy in the States who has worked on some Kanye West records and just wanted a better way of using the talk box, and it's really cool. It's called, and it just goes like around your neck, called the electro spit, but you can look that up in your own time. I composed this track around December. It looks like the first date is December 15th of 2022, which it seemed like it went into a B minor record to a D minor record. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, I mean, let's just kind of get into the show and the desktop and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the cover right there, and you know, there's me right in the around here. Yeah. Hopefully there's a link. There's going to be a link down for the pre-order and stuff, and I appreciate all the pre-orders, and these records lately that I've been putting out have gotten these little bit of jumps. One got signed with Stereophonic, and I put out a previous one on my label, and it seems Beatport had put it up on a hype chart in January, which was the previous chart was Take a Risk, which there was a video on this. But yeah, I'm excited for this one to come out. I was trying to shop this to other labels, and some were just saying great sounding record, but not for us, which is perfectly normal. But yeah, that version, this is the master. Tom Frampton's mastered this track out in the UK and stuff like that. And then the analog settings we got here are, which I didn't punch in, but you can take a look there as I punch these in. It's great when you're not prepared, right? Much like the film business. You gotta get this prepared or you're fired. Lucky that most of my settings are somewhat the same. Yeah, a majority of it, except for here. Let's turn that on. Let's warm them tubes up on the Pultec. But yeah, this is put on the channel 1 and 2, which is getting taken over into the SSL mix there, which is just like a VCA circuitry of an SSL, which is giving me per se a sound of an SSL console. Very expensive. But it's all who's driving the DAW, right? To get that perfect sound. Yeah, so we've gone through that setting, but let's go through what I do usually. Let's exit that. I'm sure everything's going well, right? So here, everything gets printed out. You know, it's 8 channels, and then it goes into one summing bus. And on here, we have stupid window. We have, let's take that down. Perfect. Where is my EQ? It should be popping up, and there it is. Okay, so first thing on the master bus per se, like it's not me mastering, but I do my light master, but it still stays at -6 decibel, and then I send it over to Tom, and he'll do his magic of being a mastering engineer, which I don't know how to do. Which I mean, I do know how to do, but it's just like I prefer to have other ears on it. And honestly, it's like I'll go through mastering my own tracks, and he just does a certain small move that just makes it sound better, and I don't know what it is, and I guess I won't be told what he does, right? It's a secret part of the industry of mastering. But here I'm taking off 200 hertz here, and it's not on the stereo field, but on the whatchamacallit, kind of like doing the side signals. Yeah, on the side. So basically anything around 200 hertz that's is a bass sound is getting blocked out. And then I use a preset here of just a 3D, which is just even harmonics and art harmonics of warmth, and it's basically just making things a little more wider. Even if you kind of let's go a little more, but like if you have headphones on, make sure you might be able to hear it in headphones, but if you're in your studio, you're gonna hear it better. But here, you'll probably hear it like once I take this out. You can tell that my vocals are just not as prominent on the side signals, so it kind of boots them up a bit and fires side turns side signals up, and the mid highs are the signals basically of just an overall more balanced sound in your stereo spectrum. And yeah, maybe turning things down mono. I don't know exactly what it does, but that's probably what it's doing. Here we have the magma tube, which is like a saturator. And you can see that there is a change of decibel level within it somewhat, but not really. Usually when I'm using this, I'll turn down the gain. I'll gain stage it with the SSL mix and turn it down so I can boost more of that in there to give it more. Oh God, I just want to make sure everything is going well. I hate piloting everything by yourself. Yeah, so just to make sure everything is, I can saturate, and just to make sure everything's hitting at the right level, and that we're still hitting like a -6 decibel level, and may not improve on the LUFS that much, but I leave that to the mastering engineer, and there's a lot of room for them to pump it up. And then here we have just the Tom Frampton's plugin, the Master in the Mix plugin, which is me taking a tech house setting and going home with it, and it's just following the EQs. It's probably different from where it is, and usually I loop the hook, and that's where it'll get all its work from of where to do it, and I just move it in place. And it's not really doing a lot, maybe like 2 to 3 changes in decibel level of EQing. And this is doing like the mix room is doing like more down the region of 220 kilohertz to 15K, and just maneuvering the EQ to do a good thing. And yeah, and that's it. And just trying to follow it to be as smooth as possible with it. Here it is without it. You look so sexy. So really, it's just kind of taking out my amateur work and giving my mix more body, per se. Yeah, and it just corrects it. Some people don't like it. I mean, I like it. I've been using it for years, and it definitely helps. And then I use the Infinite plugin by Two Room and the Mock Knight folk. The Infinite plugin by Mock Knight and the people at Two Room. I use this plugin on, and I do love Tool Room, by the way. I use this plugin on, where am I using it? Let's see. We'll see. Infinite is probably been using up on the build up to create more tension. Really looks like nothing is being used nowhere, which is weird. And then I think maybe I decided not to use it, but I think my master has it in there. But I guess for this tutorial, I'm not going to draw it in and forget about it. Forget about it. So let's go more into the mix because, time's a wasting and I got things to do today. It's all social media's fault why we have to live all these fast lives like we're on cocaine all the time. Let's see. So let's just go back to the waveform. We'll mute that out because Pro Tools is so complicated. Oh, yeah. We need to do this so we can hear. Perfect. So here we have my kick here. And it looks like pretty much what I've done. Here it is, really. I did subtractive mixing here where it's just like I'm taking out 128 hertz here, which is just kind of making the happy face, per se, whole mix look better. And just taking out some parts of the kick that's, per se, will help other instruments come in. Whether here it's like the 587 kilohertz and 800, which is more like, where the synths and pianos sit, just to give it more room. And here is the kick, and this is a side chain here of just the bass here, so it gets pulled down. Or there, I think. Yeah, it looks like most of the work is happening there, and I'm doing a kick EQ around 60 hertz, around 59. Let's see. Oh yeah, I definitely need to do this. There you go. Ah, fuck not. Yeah, that's definitely where I am using this. Usually, most of the time, I'll use the EQ from UAD, but this track was made so long ago, for I don't know, two years, no, whatever. I'm not going to do the math, but I said at the start of the video. I know it's not that hard math. Here we have just doing some EQ for the clap, right? Taking stuff out, all the junk that's around 200 hertz, all down the line of 20 hertz and down or whatever to here, crossing off 200 hertz, so we don't have any low end of the clap, and just some subtractive EQ more, and then bumping it up with the SSL here. You can see making a very tight bell curve and boosting things at like 300K or so, and boosting it up at 3. You can see all the stuff here, right? Not that hard to do, but that's what I did there. Adding an LA2A here, right? And it really brings the claps out, right? The claps are very dead and boring versus that being kicked in, not as boring, right? Don't feel you'll notice a difference by itself, but yeah, you kind of do. It's just very flat and boring, and there's no movement. Versus now, the clap has like this cool kind of wavy movement, and taking the quiet parts and the loud parts and compressing it to work. Then we have just another clap here, which is the more like kind of off time stuff. Right? Using the LA2A as well, just to give it more compression and balance. Doesn't look like it's going too crazy. It's barely moving the needle, so not making too much of a difference, but something. I mean, we can even take it here. Yeah, it kind of brings things out. I mean, when I was doing these compression moves, everything's going up and all the volume's blasting. So that's how you should be mixing, which is all your channels up, whether you doing individual things. Unless you're looking for like this specific sound and reverb or something, then I tend to do that. Is it conventional to do? Maybe, maybe not, but that's just what I do. And then here we have the other secondary clap, which is kind of just the same old stuff. Probably not going to go over that. We have the hi-hat here. Just a little off time on the 3, right? Taking garbage out of it and just not really boosting things because it's a hi-hat. There's already high frequency sounds. And if you're going to turn this up on a system, it's going to sound really piercing to the ear, right? Because, I mean, everything's getting turned 10 times more than what it is at a club. And you're just going to distort people's ears, as most people's ears are getting distorted in a nightclub if they're not wearing ear protection. And then here I'm just kind of just giving it more of a stereo field here. And, right, it's just, excuse me, it's just kind of giving things more width. Not a ton, but it's just like a pinch of salt and pepper as you use in cooking. And this is just like kind of your little off rhythm type thing, right? And as you can see, if you're looking at here in my dots, like the padding here is at mono, 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 and these are the claps mono. Then we're panning things up about 30 with the hi-hat, right? 32 with this kind of fill hi-hat. And this cymbal is getting at 30. So it's like you have the stereo field, mono, hi-hats, and then everything's living out more. And I tend to put my reverb as the most back end part of the mix and not in your face for what it is. When things become mono, it becomes in your face versus things you're putting them out more. The stereo field is giving more width, which doesn't make things is more in your face and wide, and you're just giving more depth to the mix. Depth to the mix. So, and I don't have Tourette's. We got here. Gonna ride. Nothing fancy with a ride. Just take out the garbage that's there and giving it more width. So nothing fancy. A lot of like drums don't need a lot of work. Like I don't even compress my kicks a lot of the time. And sometimes if it's a thing that I do, it's like saturation that I'm doing. But the kicks just don't get any compression because it's just a big blob, right? I mean, you can even see just blob. Not saying you don't have to, but it's up to you, right? Then we got the snare. Same kind of thing, taking out garbage, subtracting things, giving more room in the mix. Then we have the Harrison here, which the Harrison is used on old MJ records, especially the Thriller album. I just like this EQ over and over again on like kick, snares, and claps because a lot of the stuff from that album sounded great. And the snares on those records I thought sounded pretty cool. 80s records have great sounding snares. Here you can see with the mid, I'm giving a 4 dB boost. And here I would say maybe it's a 2K. No, sorry. Maybe. So it's 1K. 3. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's probably if it says 3 to 1 here, maybe it's 4K here. I'm just maxing up, and then here I'm in the mid here again. I'm just going up at 2K, so it's almost backwards what I'm doing from what I would if I'm to see this visually. It's like this area, the first mid thing that I'm doing is probably would be here, and then the other one would be here, which is just backwards. I don't know why I did that, but it's just I was listening and twiddling around with the knob. Here is doing nothing, and then here you can see I have the bell curve activated here. Distressor. Here it's like a preset of a drum kick crack, input 7, attack 7, release around 5.5 or so. The output is just staying at 5.5. And pretty much I didn't do anything. And then you have the 6:1 ratio of compression. And you can just tell, like, the snare barely exists without this compressor, so it's getting a lot of gain stage from the compressor itself in order to be apparent in the mix. In the mix. And then we have just a pitch shift. This is like for like the climaxes here. Yeah! And then we have the trim, which is just taking off volume here to give more dynamics, because it is quite annoying with this just by itself. You can even tell that I'm using like a fade here, but like it just gets too loud and annoying. I can even delete it just to like prove it. To me, I feel it's too in your face versus. And just like I have like impacts here. There's impact hits here. Yeah. So like there's impact hits here, and it helps to, I feel, mend that together. Then we just have like the drum loops that I like to use. Right. Just EQing stuff, nothing fancy. Then another loop. Same stuff. Adding 3 together. Now it's got more swing, right? Without it, it's without these drums, it's poo-poo, right? Or doo-doo, or booty. Right? Boring. See, pretty boring, right? So yeah, it just gives him like, yeah, I want to dance, man, I want to dance. Not so like stiff, like, you know, like I don't know if I want to dance to this. We'll leave the compression stuff, and we'll just discuss it here now, since we're here. This is basically just some auxiliary tracks of the drums, and I'm just blocking out things that shouldn't be there. You know, there's 20K here that doesn't need 20 hertz, sorry, and then just making sure the bass frequencies aren't coming in. It's just subtract the mixing here, and then we're just adding in the shadow hill. And it looks like I've just choose like an aggressive drum compression here, a preset. It's not advised to do presets, but when I do, I just use them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I had played around with it. Yeah, this compressor's used a lot for mastering, and you know, I think it's a good thing to use on like auxiliary tracks and stuff like that. Here, looks like I did not do anything but just block off frequencies that shouldn't be there. Look at all this stuff here. This must be from, wonder if that's coming from the plugin. No, it must be from just some analog stuff that's running. Let's see. Nope. Okay, well, let's not figure that out right now. I do think it's probably coming from my SSL mix. So here we've just added a preset called a mix bus, just to bring things out and hammering it. Right, and you can kind of you just feel things breathe a little more, and things are able to come out more with using it. And usually when I kind of use these auxiliaries is that I'll have the mix like made how I like it, start adding these compressions and stuff, and then I'll turn the auxiliaries down again and then rise them up slowly. Since I have like a touch screen, I can do the both of them and be like, no, this is better. And then it works that way. Then we move on to using the pumper, and I usually use the Extra Records one, but it's not there anymore because of the upgrade I've done, and I don't think they've really touched on fixing it yet. Maybe they have. It's just I haven't bothered to check, and I'm okay with doing stuff. There's just too many things on the plate in this life of making music because there's too many things going on. It's overwhelming, and it's mentally making me crazy. I don't think this is funny, is it? No. Here we got the bass line, just using the pumper, right? So every time the kick comes in, it's not getting pumped. This is probably a better example. Let's run this area. Right, it's getting that pumping, so it gives a cool groovy effect. And you can just hear it. You can just hear it's like it's coming out way too much now, right? And like it's out of the mix versus like every time that kick comes in, it's just boom, 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 right? It's not really working with the swing of what the track is, but it's every time it's like 1/4, which is just every time a kick is going, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's working on a count like that. So I don't necessarily know how much it's working in conjunction with the kick, but it works for what I need it to do. And then here we have probably keyboards, right? As we see, right? Yeah. Where are we here? Cool. So this is most likely an M1 synthesizer. And here, I'm just doing the usual, breaking things off a little, making room for other frequencies, right? And then we're using the Hitsville EQ, low mid 320, mids 800, and these are like 2 dB boosts, not too much. Nothing here in the high mid, and just the treble, we're just boosting at 1, which is 5K, and that's just what we hear a lot in our ears is like 1 to 5K. Oh no. And then just using the Fairchild classic compressor that's worth like $50,000 or something like that. Oh my God, it's so expensive. What an expensive sound. Just kind of making things more equal with the compressor, really, right? I just choose the threshold at 2 and just play with the input and having the compressor kick in as fast as possible here. Do think it's a bit for what it is, but you know what? It's working well. Right? That's without it, and it gives more just happy groove. It's just such a nice groove, right? So natural when you wake up in the morning. Your hair is messy. Here we got the Oral Exciter. Vintage Oral Exciter. Guess I didn't really change things that nice because it's going red here, but whatever. And the Oral Exciter is a thing that I use all the time because, like, check that out. Just sounds like a dark cloud of poo-poo versus it's nice and bright. Nice and bright now, right? So it's just a plugin I use religiously, like the Bible. Jesus, can't say that. Here we have the one knob. The one knob. Here is basically just doing it on filtered parts to give more excitement in like the intro here, right? And as it just risens up from the dark, like Snoop Dogg, up in smoke, right? It's just getting brighter and brighter. And here it's just getting more aggressive here. Oh my god. Oh my god. Feel the climax. Right? So that's cool. What else can we go over? I think we got a secondary keyboard sound, which is it looks like, I think, like an organ synth. Oh yeah, very nice. Kind of do the same thing with this organ, right? Just using the hits fill EQ, and it's kind of getting the same treatment. Other than that, we're giving it a 2K, and 2K is a very annoying frequency if you can turn that up, especially with like just S's. It is a very annoying frequency. So if you're like wanting something to get a little more prominent in a mix, 2 to 3K is a very annoying frequency to our ears, and we're able to just hear everything there. And here we go. We got here the good old expensive compressor, the Fairchild, used on classic records like the Beatles and stuff like that. So good. Here, check this out. And you see it's like not too much work, but it's really doing a lot more work on the other keyboard we're using, the nice Rhodes or whatever. But as you see, it's like it just fills everything up, right? And like I say, everything is usually done when everything's up in volume, right? So yeah. And then we have the vintage Oro exciter. And there we go. And then the good old like kind of synthesizer that's used a lot in Dr. Dre albums. And I've always made these jokes with these records I've made at their West Coast disco, right? Everyone wants to make their own genre and be the king of that one genre, right? So, I mean, look what happened to Afro House. It just got this weird sound that doesn't make sense anymore. Oh my God, you're hating. Here we have, I am positive. I just like making jokes. Here we have the melody here. My God, that's so poppy. You're ruining dance music. So yeah, just using that synthesizer there with a pumper. There's not much work going on here. The pumper here. Then we have, look at that. I don't know. It's really weird, but okay, cool. Blocking things out in a certain way, pulling things out, and raising things up at 2K. There you go. This is kind of like 2.2 or whatever, so it's like that's an annoying sound around, and then this is more just adding more air to the synth, right? So it'll come up, right? More air. So it's just like more prominent, more silky and milk. You'd like say, or it's more pinkish or purple if we're painting pictures in sound. It's a very creamy sound. And then here we have 1176, the more the original of the classic ones. With vocals from Aerosmith used on this one. Not really funny jokes today, right, guys? Here, we're just a fast attack, slow release, fast attack. Just plucking the needle, but still making a difference, right? More movement within the mix, so it's not as boring. Without it, right? It gets tucked in the back versus here. It's like there's not much of a volume difference, but just the compression is just making things equal, or the things that are quieter louder, right? So it's not a big, it's still helping with a little bit of a drum. And then we're using the magma tube on it just to give more right? And this, I think, is just drastically changing the sound as well, right? Right? You can even like just hear with the reverb, it's like popped out more, but yeah, it's a saturator that's just giving it more beauty and bass. So, you know, the beauty's more like kind of low mids or whatever, and then the bass is working on like the lows of it per se, I think. Whatever. I'm sure I'm kind of explaining it. If I didn't explain it right, then read the waves instructions on it. I don't remember everything of how I use everything. God. Here we have a pumper, strings, just EQ. I'm doing nothing here. There's no compression because it's just a constant. Yeah, so I'm just like, I don't need anything on it because it's just a constant volume that's going. Right? And honestly, it's something I'm wanting to sit in the back. Like you can even see here, the pan is 80, and the pans in here are 60 and 59. So things are kind of sitting around here in the mix, and then these strings are like there, right? And then you have all the reverb here and effects you can see here, right? A lot of these things here are like effects that are risers, and they're just in the background, kind of helping out, right? Right? So it's just like, oh, cool, right? It's just just a more width of like, check that out. Where was that coming from? Right? So then here you have like the impact here of like hitting, which is just like 5 in here. So I would say it's fairly mono, but breaking the rules. And it's just more, I figured, you know, because I've got the bass in the middle and the kick in the middle, it may help to just give it a little more room in the mix, right? I think maybe some engineers would say no to what I'm doing with this here, but it just works, right? Until you really see what people are doing, you could be like, why would they do that? And then you're like, oh, I guess it works. Then the riser here, just right, cool, right? Tasty, tasty. It's like those random soul guys on that Instagram thing. All right, we're here with Kardano, tasty. Here we go. Here, just risers. By the way, I love the random soul guys. I'm sure they know that because I play their records all the time. Impacts here, yeah. Let's move on to the beautiful talkbox vocals I've done. So annoying. Just kidding. Check them out. When you wake up in the morning. We're going to enable like solo enable with things. So like when they're getting soloed, they're kind of heard with reverb and all that other mumble jumble stuff. So when you wake up in the morning. I had a lot of fun doing these. I'm a bit of a hack at doing them because I have to like kind of like play the notes myself, and then I'm just like I can't do all the effects, so I grab my keyboard and do stuff, and then the notes are playing there. Versus most people on Talkbox will just do everything on the fly there, and it makes it very dynamic and more life to it. I don't want to say that my recording's lifeless, but to an extent it kind of is, but I'm trying to give it more life in doing some of the things, right? But like I didn't quantize anything, which kind of helps to make it more humanly like, per se. Humanly like. So here's the lead. Come on. There we go. Lead. Come on, Pro Tools. So here's the lead. You look so natural when you wake up in the morning. Then the dub. You look so sick. So here, I've kind of just used the Ovox to just give it like an effect, right? The morning. So, right? And then we have the harmonies, one on the left and right.
You look so natural.
And these are just full out pans.
When you wake up in the morning.
And then we have more harmonies, which is like lows, and these are like hitting 36 in our frequency spectrum per se area.
You look so natural.
Right?
When you wake up in the morning. You look so sexy. When you wake up in the morning.
And you can hear like my throat just grasping for my throat grasping for air as I'm doing the vocal. Yummy. So you can hear, if you listen to a lot of Roger Troutman records or Zapp and Roger per se, you can even hear like the same effect he's doing. That's just like, so I'm just like, just keep it in there. I think it's cool. And I kind of forgot when I was doing the edits. I'm like, I kind of want to do it over again. I want everything clean. And I was like, just leave it in there. It just sounds cool. Like So, and then here we just have like the H delay where I've recorded everything and just making delays, right?
You look so natural.
Right?
When you wake up in the morning.
Just gives it more groove.
You look so sexy. When you wake up in the morning. You look so natural.
And then me taking out the effect, right?
You look so natural.
Very boring.
When you wake up in the morning. You look so sexy. When you wake up in the morning.
I'm recording something. Hold on a second. Yeah. I understand. Cool. Yeah. So that's just pretty much. I think I've gone over everything with the track now. Yeah, from the vocal and everything. So let's give a little big screen so I can like do my little like I'm a starving artist and please help me. Hi. Please save and subscribe. I really need your help and more likes, please. Oh, please. Please, I really would love just a little bit more help. Yeah. Thanks for like tuning in and watching the vid, and hopefully you guys have learned something of like what I've done within the structure. I've given all the knowledge that I know. Hopefully if it's right or whatever. If you really think I'm doing something wrong, I'd love to see it in the comments, please. Other than that, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and pre-order the record. There'll be some links to there. And yeah, I got lots of shows coming up, lots of some booking in Toronto and stuff, and I'll probably see some folks over at IMS, and yeah, I just love to get some more support on these records, and it's been a great year so far, and yeah, thank you very much, and hope to see you guys soon. Bye-bye for now.